What if Anakin learned Force judgment from Plo Koon? Let's explore the depths of it in the video. As the Jedi finishes its meeting for the afternoon, Plo Koon leaves and prepares to head back to his quarters. But before he goes, the Jedi decide to stop by the training yard to inspect the Padawans' progress in their fighting skills. With the Clone Wars breaking out, it is now more important than ever for them to understand how to defend themselves and others. He watches as many spar against each other, training droids, or even several groups of them fighting as a unit. These were the techniques that the Jedi Council insisted the new generation learn to deal with actual combat. It is a grim assessment, but one he agrees with. Now that the war has begun, casualties have begun to mount, making it essential that the next generations are prepared for all that may happen. So far, many are progressing in these challenges well, and he is happy to leave them. But one Padawan sticks out in particular. Little Ahsoka. Master Plo watches with renewed interest. Unlike others, Ahsoka does not join the other Padawans in Jedi-mandated training. Instead, she is facing off against a squad of clone troopers who fire upon her with stun rounds. They are much faster and more accurate than the standard training droids, but somehow Ahsoka manages to dodge and deflect their attacks. She spins and leaps in place, trying her best to avoid them. Despite her best efforts, one lucky shot takes her in the back and sends her sprawling. The clones help her to her feet and guide her to a bench where Anakin is waiting with a drink to refresh her. Master Plo walks over and rests a hand on her forehead.
She will be fine, but this is an interesting training technique, Master Skywalker. One the Jedi Council is not familiar with.
Indeed, but I think it's a better representation of combat than our current training regimen.
Do you not consider the training adequate?
It certainly is adequate, but sometimes adequate isn't enough, especially if there are lives on the line. The Jedi need to be prepared. The CIS are unlike anything we've ever encountered before, Master. It isn't just the droids we have to worry about. They also have dark side assassins and monsters like Grievous.
Indeed. I have had encounters with both warriors. They are certainly dangerous. It took everything I had to stay alive.
So you know how dangerous it is to leave the Jedi unprepared. Geonosis was proof enough of that. If we're to win, we need to adapt as well. Not just from the droids, but learning to face warriors like Ventress. This isn't just some border war that we encountered before. This is a conflict across the galaxy.
What you say is true, and the progress is showing with Ahsoka. She lasted far longer than any Padawan her age should have.
And she'll need that extra training when she sets foot on the battlefield.
Then would you perhaps be willing to train some other Padawans? The two of us are among the few in the Jedi Order with experience dealing with Ventress and their other dark side warriors. We must pass that knowledge on to the others.
Master, that is a great responsibility you're leaving me with, but also a great honor. I would be happy to help however I can. With that, Plo Koon petitions the Jedi Council for improved training programs to help prepare their knights and younglings to face the CIS. These will start off as being entirely voluntary, focusing on those who want to orient themselves into combat. The Jedi Council agrees, even Master Plo to recruit Anakin as a trainer, citing his unique experience. Soon enough, Ahsoka and a handful of young Jedi join this program, eager to learn how to combat the dark side. But their excitement quickly turns to dismay as they see just how different the training is from what they are used to. The point is to help them prepare beyond what the Jedi Order has to offer, and Anakin takes that seriously. The big issue is that the Jedi as a whole are not prepared for combat. They understand dueling and facing small groups, but this focuses on helping them understand the chaotic nature of the battlefield. Master Plo focuses on getting them in the right mindset. He has 3 young Jedi gather around him and meditate, clearing their minds of all chaos and difficulty so they can focus purely on the task ahead. And once they get in the right mindset, he warps the force around them, making it more chaotic, louder, and difficult like they were in a war. This is with the intent of letting them clear their minds and unleashing their powers. Once they can accomplish this, they advance to the next level. Anakin focuses on the practical. He changes their training to something that can simulate combat situations. Blaster fire exercises with clones instead of training droids become commonplace while facing off against hidden and multiple opponents. They also learn to focus on different opponents and weapons. They face off against blasters, lightsabers, but also explosives and electrified weapons. He also has them train alongside clones, helping bond and understand each other, allowing them to forge connections in the Force. He does this because he understands the Jedi training is inadequate. Though they are now generals, many Jedi still cling to the notion that they are peacekeepers as well. This prevents some Jedi from fully investing in the military, understanding things like tactics and spending more time with clones. These tactics soon pay off, as when these young Jedi enter the battlefield, they are better prepared for what to face. They move with more purpose and better coordination, without doubt plaguing them. In some ways, they even outperform their older Jedi counterparts. Against droids and CIS allies, these young Jedi are more than a match, winning many stunning victories, providing a much-needed morale boost and talent for flagging Republic order. But one area where Anakin struggles is teaching them to combat the dark side. Although he can describe the experience of the dark side and his encounters with dark side users, he struggles to find ways to counter them. Master Plo decides to step in and help them with his ability of Force Judgement. This can simulate the power of Force lightning without the same danger that power has. For hours on end, the Jedi Master unleashes bursts of that yellow lightning. Many fail to halt its powers, feeling the overwhelming power of the Force in these attacks. There, he teaches them to resist its powers. He shows how it can be absorbed and redirected. He teaches them to use their lightsabers as a conduit to halt their powers. But while this was just intended for the younger Jedi, Anakin takes a keen interest in this ability and watches closely. Master Plo watches this, seeing how intently Anakin watches each strike and analyzing the movements. One day, he decides to talk to him about it.
You seem quite intrigued by this power, young one. I understand you have experience with it. At least, that is what Ahsoka tells me.
You can say that, Master. In the past, Dooku has unleashed lightning upon me, and each time he did, I felt a power like nothing I've ever felt. Even though I was on the receiving end, I still felt a surge of energy flowing through me, as if it were calling out.
That is the true danger of lightning, young one. To summon something like that requires immense power, reaching within the Force around you. It is dangerous to both the user and the recipient, as they must be a conduit of the Force. If they think of absorbing, then they risk letting the Force overwhelm them.
Is that why so few Jedi learn about Force powers like this?
Indeed. The dark side lives on drawing upon power at great risk. They twist the Force around it and bend it to their will, but we prefer to work with it. That is the difference between Force Judgment and Force Lightning.
The two of them end up talking for hours about this difference, what it entails, and how to channel it. Before either even realizes it, Master Plo begins having Anakin learn how to harness this power. Learning under this Jedi Master is an experience unlike any other. Master Plo is patient and understanding in ways few Jedi ever were to him, but there is a wisdom and authority about him that keeps Anakin in place. The Jedi never once raises his voice, but his soft-spoken tone is enough to get him to listen. He guides Anakin through each step of the way, teaching him to reach into the midichlorians in the air around him. For an engineering mind like Anakin, Master Plo frames it like using them as a fuel to power him up, and the lightning is the result of combustion, like how a speeder propels itself forward.
But fuel is just the beginning. You must learn to concentrate this power, to focus on a single target. Find the target and focus all your senses upon it. Only then do you release your power. Make sure you can feel their presence in the Force so strongly that you cannot ignore it.
He points at an old training dummy at the end of the field.
Refine that power. Forge it as if you were programming a droid. There must be one focus, one target, one point. That is where you unleash it.
Anakin suddenly thrusts his fingers forward, and from the tips is a burst of yellow lightning. It forks out and rushes into a single burst. As it strikes the dummy, the entire thing goes up in a burst of straw and cloth. But it doesn't feel nearly as good as the Jedi Master slapping him on the back. I did it.
Don't you have, Skywalker? I never doubted you.
Thank you, Master. I couldn't have done it without you.
You are welcome, my boy. I know that the Jedi were reluctant to give you so much responsibility. Even I admit I was reluctant to trust little Ahsoka with you. But I see now it was a wise choice. I sense greatness in you. And one day, you're going to rattle the stars.
Anakin smiles at the older Jedi Master, and the two watch the setting sun. When at last the next battle comes, Anakin learns differently, just as the other Jedi who had undergone this training. He moves with more fluidity and determination, and his senses appear sharpened. The words of Master Plo stick with him. His explanation on the Force awakens something in Anakin, and he sees things differently. Where once he saw simply the world in the physical, he sees it more deeply. He senses the very midichlorians within him. He sees it in the people alongside him, in his foes, even in the objects around him. And if they are all connected, they can be manipulated. He rushes through the battlefield, first avoiding fire, but then getting close to the droids. He unleashes his Force judgment, sending a dozen droids sparking and flying. But he is already moving. Anakin's lightsaber seems like a blur as his mind analyzes the Force around him. Once it felt like an enigma. Now he sees the pattern and flows of the Force, like a tapestry being woven inside him, and he continues to lead the counterattack. Lightnings arc from his fingertips as his mind idly notices the way the Force moves in objects. He observes how it flows in a fuel tank, silent but waiting to burst, inside a droid system, rigid and concentrated, but waiting to be tampered with. And with his troops, they are a swirling motion of fear, elation, and anger. These emotions all seem to swirl around, giving them strength, but also leaving them to be influenced. As he observes this, a Magna Guard appears, swinging an electrostaff at him. Anakin leaps back from the attack and readies himself, and then a thought nags at the back of his head, urging him to test the theory out. He focuses on the staff itself, just as he focuses on the midichlorians around him when harnessing Force judgment. It is easy, as they are already charged. It is simply a matter of making them his. Anakin smiles as the Magna Guard rushes at him again and jabs his staff forward. When the electricity crackles, he feels it, drinking the power in and then summoning it for himself. Suddenly, the staff's charge goes up from purple to yellow as it responds to Anakin's summons, and then he unleashes it. Anakin directs the electricity back to the staff, letting it erupt in the droid's hands. It throws the Magna Guard back. Bits of him shatter into pieces as he flies. Soon enough, this battle ends in victory for the Republic. But Anakin does not focus on that. Instead, his mind is rushing to what else is possible with these powers. He begins jotting down everything he's seen in his new perspective, and ideas swirl in his mind of how else these powers can be used, and if they can be channeled through other abilities. Many of those same acolytes who trained under Anakin and Plo are stunned by his ability, and many are eager to learn about some of his new ideas. They continue their training in secret, throwing themselves into both body and soul to understanding these techniques. The potential to unlock new Force abilities is something truly remarkable. Those who choose to follow Anakin are the most militaristic within the Order, who see that their roles as simple peacekeepers are no longer adequate and begin searching for new avenues of power. Master Plo is aware of their existence, and rather than stop them, he seeks to temper them. While pleased to see their eagerness, he makes sure they understand the concepts of restraint and discipline. He reminds them that the Jedi's teachings are not wholly outdated yet, and there are still things they can apply in their new roles. Because of that, these Reformist Jedi prove to be deadly fighters. On the battlefield, they become some of the most dangerous assets the Republic has. They have all the discipline and skill of the Jedi, but a far greater understanding of tactics and a leaning towards military aptitude than any of their older counterparts. They appreciate these new forces and welcome them. However, the Jedi are less than pleased with these new soldiers. Some traditionalist Jedi see it as a sign of the Jedi further losing their way as they fully embrace the military path. The Jedi Council is concerned that this may lead to the dark side, especially since Anakin is leading them. They see how powerful he's become, and how he's mastered Force judgment, a technique that many were reluctant to teach him to begin with. So the Council convenes to discuss this matter and the risks involved.
Young Skywalker has risen high in the last few months. To use Force judgment is impressive, but one must wonder whether he might not be prepared for such a power.
It's true. Such techniques are typically reserved only for masters.
I understand your worry, but rest assured, I have trained young Skywalker relentlessly. I have shown him not just how to use it, but how to understand its risks. I believe he will take this responsibility seriously. And so far, he has given no reason for me to worry.
And yet he has begun training our youngest Jedi in these new techniques he's developed. Training programs were one thing, but now he shows them how to fight, and there are rumors that he also trains them to experiment with new Force abilities. A bit of experimentation is hardly something to worry about. It's how we further our understanding of the Force.
My concern is that he neglected to inform the Jedi Council of these ideas. If there is nothing to worry about, he should have no problem sharing them with us.
And if he had shared these techniques, would you have permitted them? You nearly shot down his plans to train these other young Padawans and only permitted it when Master Plo volunteered to help. But now when he gives his assurances, you have second thoughts. We are concerned, Master, because there are already those among us who are concerned with how our order is straying from the Jedi Code. His plans of militarization, especially for our youngest, may cement that notion.
Necessity is the mother of invention, Master Windu. Anakin is not acting with darkness in his heart. He does this not to turn the Order into an army, but to save lives. None of these Jedi asked to be part of this war, but that role was thrust upon them, and many paid the price for it. While we cling to our code, those young ones die because we did not allow them to receive the training they needed. Anakin simply corrected that.
And would whatever military advantage we obtain here be worth forgetting who we are?
Must I remind you that the Jedi willingly chose to enter this war, and yet now we balk when we must realize the full implications of that action. We hesitate to give our most vulnerable the tools they need to face the challenges, all in the name of the Code. If this is what the Jedi wish, then perhaps it's time we reevaluate the Jedi Code.
Enough. Regardless of whether this is justified or not, it doesn't change the fact that the Jedi Council has the right to know what is being taught. At the moment, Anakin is away on a mission, so the Jedi Council sanctions a review of Anakin's training methods. They visit the Jedi he's training and interview them about what transpires. Many are reluctant to admit all the things Anakin has them do, but Mace continues to press them. It is only when Master Plo advises them to cooperate that they agree. To the shock of the Jedi Council, they admit that Anakin made them study Dark Aid texts to learn about dark side abilities, but they insist it is to learn how to resist these powers. The Jedi Council is left speechless, and while Master Plo tries to protest, they order a search of Anakin's chambers. There, they find Sith texts that Anakin has captured during his recent battles. These outline some of the powers and abilities that the dark side can harness. The sight of these is troubling enough, but it is only worse when they begin to search his private datapad for anything else. There, they see the notes he's taken throughout the war about the Force. His ideas are equal parts brilliant, but also incredibly radical for the Jedi. They detail theories he's taken about Force judgment. If it is meant to be the light side equivalent of Force lightning, he suggests there might be more powers like that with other dark side abilities. In his notes, he jots down some things he's been experimenting on. He might be able to create a form of Force stasis to immobilize enemies, similar to Force choking without strangulation. Another is a method of Force drain, meant to transfer your injuries to your companions. The most recent is how Force Rage could be used defensively, used to give its user a boost in their speed and defenses if channeled through righteous fury. To some, these seem like intriguing ideas, but to the Jedi Council, this is all the proof they need of Anakin turning. He is actively keeping Sith artifacts in his room, and now his notes contain written admissions of dabbling in the dark side. What is worse, he suggests teaching this to their young Jedi. This is too much. Though Master Plo urges caution for them to be reasonable and talk to Anakin, others are scared and worried about what this entails. So they decide to stamp out this heresy while they still have a chance. While Anakin is away, the Reformists who were trained are detained in order to remain in the brig. Meanwhile, all of Anakin's notes are confiscated as evidence, and the temple guards are ordered to arrest him the moment Anakin arrives. But this commotion doesn't go unnoticed outside the temple. Palpatine sees this as well and smiles, watching as the Jedi turn against one another. He decides to accelerate his plans and have the Jedi destroy each other. It would be more efficient and would allow him to keep his hands clean. So, as Anakin's ship returns, he receives a message from Chancellor Palpatine.
Anakin, my boy, I'm so glad I reached you first. There is trouble in the Jedi Temple.
Trouble? Is the temple under attack?
In a manner of speaking, the Jedi have gone to war against themselves. They have decided that those you trained in your new training program have been touched by the dark side and have ordered them detained.
Detained? No, that can't be possible. They would never do that.
I'm afraid it is. My men have reported seeing it themselves. They watched as several Jedi Masters entered the training yard and ordered your students to accompany them.
There must be a mistake, Chancellor. I'll go there myself and learn the truth.
Anakin, that is precisely what they want. There is a rumor that they plan on arresting you as soon as you arrive. They fear what your students have learned and what they can accomplish. For that, they fear you most of all.
Chancellor, I cannot possibly leave my students. I need to go.
Very well. If you must go, Then I will send a company of clones to assist you.
Meanwhile, within the brig, around 40 Jedi Knights and many more Padawans and younglings are left languishing in their cells, wondering what will happen. That is, until they hear the sound of combat up from outside and the thud of bodies falling to the ground. The doors open to reveal Master Plo, who holds his hand out.
I will not allow the Jedi Order to purge its future. Come with me.
The younglings are initially terrified, but Ahsoka assures them that it is okay and takes their hand. They quickly recapture their weapons and rush through the temple. It isn't long before the alarm is sounded and guards rush to stop them. But the Reformists are ready. They recall Anakin's training and rush to face them. Some unleash bursts of Force judgment, throwing guards and clones back, immobilizing them but avoiding killing. They channel the air around the Jedi, just like Force choke, but forming a bubble around them instead of constricting their throats. Others who suffer injuries reach out to their compatriots, letting the pain flow between them and dividing it so they can continue fighting. Ahsoka digs deep into her frustration and anger at the Jedi Order, channeling it as Anakin says, but then takes deep breaths like what Master Plo Koon taught to temper. Only then does she unleash as 2 temple guards rush at her. She slides under their attacks and then uses the Force to knock their bodies together. They continue to fight through the temple, so when Anakin arrives, they've captured 2 of the 5 towers and barricaded themselves inside. This pulls away most of the guards, so Anakin lands unchallenged. He rushes through the corridors, looking for his students. He hears the commotion coming from the towers and hurries towards them. As he runs, he receives a message from Commander Fox, telling him his men are ready and waiting. But then, he runs into Mace Windu. He's accompanied by several Jedi Masters, who all look surprised, but immediately ignite their weapons. Anakin lets them come at him and unleashes a wave of Force judgment that sends them stumbling back. Only Mace holds his ground successfully. The rest of them fall back as he ignites his lightsaber. Ki-Adi-Mundi leaps at him, lightsaber flashing as the 2 of them trade blows, while Ajen Kalar and Luminara Undalai surround him from either side. The 2 trade blows, and then Anakin sweeps low. The Saren Jedi Master takes his chance and tries to strike him down, but Anakin's hand rushes forward to stop the blade mid-strike, using Force stasis to hold it in place. The other 2 Masters rush at him, but Anakin is ready. He redirects the lightsaber to strike at Luminara, who must block to strike from Mundi first. Anakin lets go and shoves them back with the Force. Ajen Kalar is more of a threat, as his attacks are quick and savage. He parries each one and begins to give ground. Ajen takes advantage of this and halts one strike and turns it aside. He pushes the lightsaber away and thrusts his hand up. Ajen Kalar does the same, and both fly back, but Anakin lands on his feet. From the corner of his eye, he watches Mace rush from behind. He catches his lightsaber strike and counters with a slash along his side. Mace aims his weapon down and blocks it, but the 2 are locked in place. Kalar comes back from behind, and Anakin lets out a roar. Anger and energy flood through him, but he is careful to temper that rage as he springs forward, raining attacks on Ajen until they are face to face. Only then does he knee him in the stomach and throw him back. When Ki-Adi-Mundi and Luminara try to rejoin the fight, he checks them with another burst of Force judgment. Ki-Adi falters, but Luminara rushes in and fights alongside Mace. The 2 rain down attacks on him, trying to force him back, but Anakin's strength only seems to grow as Mace braces himself, preparing to deal with his burst of energy. However, he's surprised to feel no darkness when their lightsabers clash. The hesitation is all Anakin needs. He breaks away from the attack and turns to Luminara. Their lightsabers clash, and Luminara tries to thrust her lightsaber at him, but Anakin catches it and sends another bout of Force judgment to throw her back. This leaves only Mace, who tries to attack with an overhead slash, but Anakin catches it and slams his fist into his stomach, dropping him to his knees.
Finish it then.
No. I'm not the monster you think I am, and nothing you do will ever make me that. But before they can say more, the sound of blaster fire echoes across the temple. Anakin turns his head and rushes to the source and sees Commander Fox's men rushing through the temple, firing their blasters. Already the sound of combat is drawing in not just other Jedi, but some of the Reformists.
Commander, stop this madness. The battle is over.
Apologies, sir, but our orders have changed.
By who?
By me.
The Chancellor appears from one of the gunships and steps out, a twisted grin on his face as he stares at Anakin.
Congratulations on defeating the Jedi, but that is just the beginning. You think they will stop their persecution of you? No. They will see you as just as vile as the Sith, But you can end that before it ever happens if you join me now.
Join you? Wait. You planned this?
Plan this? Do not be absurd, my boy. I did not plan the Jedi's foolishness, nor their inflexibility. They did that all on their own. No, I simply am providing you with an alternative to their path, one where you can shed your weakness as you do now.
Anakin hesitates. He thinks of the Jedi Council members he just defeated. It wasn't just his power that granted him victory. It was their inflexibility, their blindness to things beyond their way. But then he thinks of Master Plo, the Jedi who had every reason to join them, but he instead trained Anakin and showed his faith in him. He thinks of how he continued to support him long after it became inconvenient. Anakin grips his weapon and shakes his head.
I will not join you, whatever your cause may be. Call off your men now, and I might not have you arrested.
Palpatine's face darkens. He stares at the Jedi in surprise, and then snarls.
Then you shall join them. But do not worry. I will ensure the surviving Reformists are taken care of in my new regime.
As the clones rush past him and the fighting moves away, Palpatine reveals a crimson lightsaber and rushes at him. He lets out a shriek that aims to unbalance him. But though the Jedi is taken off guard, he does not break from the attack. Instead, he raises his weapon and blocks the attack. The blows send shockwaves across the ground, and Anakin shoves Palpatine back. The Chancellor flips in the air but lands on his feet. Anakin does not give him a chance to recover as he slashes at him. He slides under the slash and feels Palpatine trying to stab at him. Anakin hops back, feeling the heat of his weapon just inches from his side. He pulls his weapon and rushes at him again, but Anakin is careful. He rains down attacks on the Chancellor, swinging his weapon down and leaving them to trade blows. Although Palpatine is much more experienced, he senses the power in Anakin, whose mind is working, studying the Force around him. The Chancellor moves back and unleashes a burst of Force lightning to keep him off balance, but Anakin summons a barrier in response. The electricity crackles around him, and Anakin takes a deep breath. He summons the betrayal and rushes forward, faster than Palpatine expects, and then his eyes widen as Anakin appears and launches a devastating burst of Force Judgement. Palpatine barely sidesteps, but it strikes his side and leaves him stumbling back from the blow. Anakin advances and tries to thrust his lightsaber forward, but Palpatine redirects it and tries to bring his weapon down. This forces the Jedi to shift on the defensive as the Chancellor tries to call on the darkness around him to shield himself from the attack. But that is where Anakin takes a deep breath. Thinking back to what Master Plo taught him, he reaches into the Force for his next attack. The midichlorians shiver at this power, answering his call, and then he lets it flow through him, directing it across his body in preparation for the strike. He pushes it all into his fingertips and focuses on Palpatine. He stares into his wide eyes, desperate and furious. There is no mistaking him as he unleashes his power. The Chancellor's eyes widen as he feels the judgment erupt from Anakin's fingertips and strike him in the chest. It burns through whatever defenses he has and sends Palpatine sprawling to the ground, his body broken and burnt, barely a husk of what he was. With Palpatine dead, Anakin directs the remaining Jedi and Reformists to finish the battle. They use their non-lethal training to immobilize and capture the clones where they can, preventing it from turning into a bloodbath. This gives them leverage to negotiate their innocence, especially when Anakin shows the footage of him trying to calm down the attacks. This leaves the Jedi acquitted for any wrongdoing, though many in the Jedi Council are punished for letting this happen. With them gone, Anakin can focus on his second task, starting to reform the Jedi Order. With his new policies, he works to split the Order into two groups. One will remain the peacekeepers of the Republic, while the other will become the militant arm, one built to deal with the growing threats in the galaxy. That's our theory. The Star Wars universe is a galaxy filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you want to accompany us on this journey to a galaxy far, far away, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.